I guess in last class we were discussing the topic of MSP, right? Minimum support price. And how was the test, by the way? The test, MGP test. Were you able to attempt all the questions? Straightforward? कोई bouncer था? You didn't attempt? Any bouncer? Okay. Was it from all the topics that we covered in the class? Okay, fine. So in the last class, we stopped the topic of MSP, right? We discussed the benefits and challenges related to MSP. We'll take it forward from there. And the first topic for today's discussion is about legalization of MSP. So please write down the list of topics that we'll cover in today's class. List of topics. Number 1. Legalization of MSP. Second, PM Asha. PM Asha. Third, ENAM. ENAM. Fourth, inverse fork to farm. Inverse fork to farm. Essential Commodities Act. Essential Commodities Act 1955. Next, food processing industries. Food processing industries. Put hyphen and write. Scope, significance, challenges, and initiatives. Next, mega food park. Next one is mega food park. And last one is upstream and downstream requirements. Upstream and downstream requirements in the food processing industries. Upstream and downstream requirements in the food processing industries. So these are the topics that we are going to cover in today's class. After this, we will be done with a substantial part of your agriculture. There are some more topics remaining from agriculture, which is like cropping pattern, role of e-technology, then economics of animal rearing. That will be covering it in the next class. And once we cover that topic and PDS, we'll be done with a substantial part, almost entire part of your agriculture, then food processing, right? Okay, we'll start with the first topic. Need not write. I have just incorporated everything in the PPT. Just try to pay attention here. And after discussing this, I want you guys to do a brainstorming. I'm going to cover this from the PPT for a simple reason that we have already covered everything about MSP in the last class. With respect to MSP, we have covered what are the benefits of MSP, what are the challenges, what we should do to address those challenges. Everything we have covered. Legalization of MSP is simply an extension of the last topic. Okay. So, with respect to legalization of MSP, I hope everyone knows the recent context with respect to legalization, right? The recent context is, you know, that farmers are protesting across India. They had multiple demands, but one of the major demand of the farmers was they wanted that MSP should be legalized. Why were they demanding for legalization? Because they were expecting that once MSP is legalized, they can get a better price, and the farmers will no longer be exploited by the middlemen and the traders. That is why they were demanding for legalization of minimum support price. But can anyone tell me, when you say legalization of MSP, what does it actually mean? उसका मतलब क्या है? Legalization of MSP. It should be supported by an act. Good. Then, if there's any violation of MSP, you can go to a court of law. Then anything else? Government needs to procure all the crops for which the MSP is declared. To give you an analogy, let's try to understand about FRP. You have heard about fair and remunerative price for sugarcane. Now, if you see fundamentally what is the difference between FRP and MSP, all of you know this. In terms of coverage, MSP covers 22 crops. FRP covers only one crop, which is sugarcane. That is what you know about it. But what is also very interesting is, when you see FRP, right? FRP actually enjoys legal status. What do you mean by FRP enjoying legal status? It basically means, first thing, whenever the government declares FRP for sugarcane, it is declared under Sugarcane Control Order 1966. And this Sugarcane Control Order 1966 is issued under an act called as Essential Commodities Act 1955. So obviously, number one, it enjoys a legal status. Second, when the government declares FRP for sugarcane, here you must understand, government is not procuring sugarcane. So if I am a sugarcane farmer, I will go and sell sugarcane to a sugar mill, sugarcane industry. This sugarcane industry must pay me a price which is equal to FRP. And if it fails to do that, if it does not pay me FRP, I can file a case against the sugar mill, sugarcane industry, before a court of law. So that way, it is considered to be illegal for sugarcane industries to procure sugarcane below FRP. So far, so clear, everyone? What about MSP? MSP has no law at all. There's no law for MSP. Because there's no law for MSP, the government declares MSP, but the traders as such, the traders can very well procure the crops at a price which is much below MSP. It is not illegal. Understand that. Apart from that, even though government declares MSP, there is no obligation on the government to procure the crops if market price falls below MSP. Getting this point? That is why, when the farmers grow crops for which MSP is declared, traders can very well procure below MSP, which leads to their exploitation. Remember in the last class we covered a mechanism called as cartelization, right? Further, if the market price fall below MSP, government is no longer required to procure it. The government procures only two crops. Which are those two? Rice and wheat. So the farmers, their demand is very simple. They want that MSP should be legalized, which means three things. Number one, MSP should be declared under a law. Second thing, traders should purchase the crops at MSP. If they purchase below MSP, it will be considered as illegal. And the traders can be dragged before a judiciary, court of law. And if traders are not procuring the crops, who will has to procure it? The government. In this case, it is FCI. So three things, that is what is legalization of MSP. If you have understood this, everyone has got what I'm trying to say, right? So right now, for how many crops we are declaring MSP? I told you 22 crops. For all these 22 crops, there should be a law under which MSP will be declared. Private sector should compulsorily procure at MSP. If they procure below MSP, it's illegal. And if private sector is not procuring, ultimately government has to procure. Based upon our understanding, I want you guys to do a brainstorming for next 1 minute and quickly tell me what do you think are the benefits. I just want the benefits part. Do not worry, everything what I'm covering, it's there in the slide later. If you have 5 points, let me know. Yes, anyone has? Chalo, I'll bring down my barrier. From 5, I'll bring it down to 3. Anyone has 3 solid points? Okay, your best point. It can help increase the income of the farmers. Okay, good. I will not say productivity, rather I'll say production, because they are two different things. Production and productivity are two different things. Okay, then I think he has a good point. He says it can help us promote crop diversification. This becomes very important because the Indian agriculture has come to be characterized by monocropping, where rice and wheat, what percentage of area do they cover? 38% of the total area and 75% of the total food grain production. Good. It will help us promote crop diversification. What he's trying to say is under MSP, only 6% of the farmers are getting benefited. Now, if you legalize MSP, we can ensure that all the farmers across India will get benefited. I'll tell you a trick, if you have understood from the exercise we have done. Look at the challenges of MSP, everyone. If you reverse those challenges, can you write benefits of legalization? You do not have to think so much. Yeah. So right now, remember when I was discussing challenges with respect to MSP, I told you, remember one keyword, which is low coverage. Low coverage of MSP in terms of farmers, in terms of crops, and in terms of states. So this problem will get resolved if we legalize MSP. That is one way to, generate points. Another way to generate points is all of you look at your notes from the last class where we discussed why does the government declare MSP in a diagram format. We discussed that in diagram format, right? Government declares MSP, gives price signal to the farmers. That price signal will encourage investment. Increase investment will lead to increase in production. When the production takes place, farmers will have two option. One, they can sell it to FCI, and second, they can sell it to the traders. And next, it will lead to doubling of farmers' income. From that particular diagram itself, can I say can generate 5 to 6 points? Mains is all about generating points. Understand that. If you have the right framework in mind, you can easily generate the points. So that diagram plus challenges of MSP, if you can keep in mind, you can easily write what are the benefits of legalization. Is that part clear to everyone? Huh. Huh. You can add to that. Good. When you have written that point, environmentally unsustainable practices, that you can reverse it. Clear, everyone? Okay. Now, just take your time and tell me. Obviously, there are benefits of legalization of MSP. There are benefits. But does it mean that we should legalize MSP? You have 1 minute once again. Do a brainstorm and tell me whether it is a good thing to legalize MSP. And understand, last time, some of my students who went to interview, right? They were asked this particular question on whether MSP should be legalized or not. It is not just a mains question, it is an interview based question as well. Take your time. Should we legalize MSP? What are the challenges? Socho. 5 points. Good, Saksham. Once again, I keep saying framework is very important. Has anyone got at least 4 points? At least 3 to 4? Huh. Like one point he says, it's a very good point. He says that it will lead to greater control of the agricultural market by the state, that is by the government. Why so? Let's try to understand. Right now, you must understand, please pay attention, this is interesting. When we declare MSP, right, we discuss as on what basis the MSP is actually declared. What is the basis for declaring MSP? In the last class we covered. Which approach are we following? A2 plus FL approach. And under A2 plus FL approach, we declare MSP in such a manner that MSP is at least 1.5 times the production cost. But if you look at market price, MSP is based upon the cost of production. Market price, you must understand, is not based upon the production cost. Market price of any commodity is determined by market forces of demand and supply. Now the problem is, by taking into account production cost, we are fixing MSP, and this MSP is now, we are trying to ensure that this MSP becomes the market price. Don't you think it is like going against the very principles of economics? Because economics tells us market price is based upon demand and supply, and it is not based upon what? Production cost. Let's say in a particular year, it might so happen that the MSP is higher than market price. Market price has crashed in a year, let's say because of oversupply or lack of demand. If market price falls, imagine right now, presently, when MSP is not legal, right now a trader, even if market price falls, trader will still purchase a commodity because it is not illegal. But later, if you legalize MSP, if trader is purchasing the crops at below market price, sorry, below MSP, the trader can be dragged before a court of law. Trader obviously will not purchase. If trader is not purchasing, who has to purchase then? Government, which is FCI. So the biggest problem with legalization of MSP is, it is said, it may lead to nationalization of grain market, where the entire grain market is come to be dominated by government. So it is like going back to pre-1991. Getting it? Okay, good point. Then I'll give chance to someone else also. Huh. He says it's a administrative burden. Why it's a administrative burden? Because it's very difficult to procure all the 22 crops. Good. Then, huh. Storage capacity is a problem. Then, it can violate WTO. Which agreement is that? Agreement on agriculture. Good. Okay. Then, it does not. It might not take into account the regional diversities in terms of agriculture. Then, food subsidy bill of FCI could increase. Okay, here I'll just tell you, he has a good point. He says food subsidy bill would increase. Right now, what is the food subsidy bill of India? In the last class we covered 2 lakh crores. This is the food subsidy bill. If you legalize MSP, right, then what will happen is government will be required to procure all the crops for which the MSP is declared. But how much crops the government will procure in 1 year will in turn be dependent upon whether the MSP is higher or lower than the market price. For example, government will be required to procure only when the market price falls. If market price in 1 year, if it is higher, will the government be required to procure it? Obviously not. Government will be required to procure only when there is a fall in the market price. So, when you look at the subsidy, how much subsidy the government would have to bear if you legalize the MSP, this subsidy, it is very difficult to calculate. It's very difficult. Why it is difficult to calculate? Because in 1 year, market price could be higher, where there's no subsidy at all. Second year, market price could be lower than MSP, then the government may be required to procure it. Similarly, the amount of subsidy, how much the government has to spend, this will be based upon the difference between market price and MSP. I hope you're getting this point. अगर मान लेते हैं market price is ₹20, MSP is 25. How much will be the food subsidy bill? ₹5. But if MSP is 25, market price is 15, how much would be the food subsidy bill? 10. It means food subsidy bill will be in turn dependent upon how less this market price is as compared to MSP. जितना ज्यादा कम गिरेगा उतना ज्यादा हमारा सब्सिडी बिल बढ़ेगा. Did you get the point? So according to some estimates, they have calculated that food subsidy bill can go up to 17 lakh crores. Obviously, आपको पता नहीं चलेगा how much is 17 lakh crore. One, if you look at our budget size, our budget size last year was 42 lakh crores. Our budget itself was 42 lakh crore. Out of which, if you legalize MSP, how much you have to spend on MSP? 17 lakh crore. According to one estimate. But I'm not going with this because this particular estimate is assuming that government is procuring all. A much better estimate has been given by CRISIL. I hope you must have heard about CRISIL, right? It's a credit rating agency which has carried out a detailed study of how much could be the food subsidy bill. It says if you legalize MSP, the food subsidy bill could go up to, can you see how much it is? 6 lakh crores. Presently, kitna hai? 2 lakh crore. It means our food subsidy bill could triple to 6 lakh crore. I hope you understood this point. Anyone else? Any other point? Huh? Yeah, it can. Very good. Good surname. Anyone else? It is not going to solve systemic problems. Okay. Now, how to generate points? It will harm. It will harm the food processing industries. Yes, you should. You should. If you declare higher, if the MSP, if you're declaring MSP for all the crops, the government is procuring those crops. Understand, government is not allowed to export the crops which it has procured under WTO's agreement on agriculture. Remember in the last class we covered agreement on agriculture? Whatever buffer stock that we maintain under agreement on agriculture, that buffer stock we are not allowed to export it. Yes. So what is the way forward then? Kya karna chahiye? Farmers are also right now. On one hand, their farmers are saying that they're not getting a good price. They're being exploited by the traders. But there are other compelling reasons also as to why we should not legalize MSP. तो करना क्या चाहिए फिर? Huh? Okay, then why do you think the farmers are exploited in Indian agriculture? What's the biggest reason? Cartelization by the traders. So how do you prevent that from happening? You give more power in the hands of farmer, more bargaining power. That can be done by organizing farmers into FPOs. Second, giving more freedom to the farmers to sell their produce anywhere and whomsoever they want to. Among all the agriculture commodities, the commodity for which the farmers are getting the highest price is milk. Is there any MSP for milk? No. Yet the farmers are getting the highest price. The reason is very simple, because in dairy sector there is a good development of cooperatives. Did you get the point? Okay. So this should be a stand. So what should be the way forward? Think of all the strategies with respect to agriculture marketing that we have covered in the last class. You remember all the strategies? I told you one keyword for agriculture marketing. What is that keyword? Agriculture marketing is restrictive, fragmented, pro-trader and anti-farmer. You just have to reverse it. Then automatically the farmers will get higher price. We will come to that. In fact, the next topic is that only, PM Asha. In PM Asha, we are trying to compensate the farmers for the loss. But even that particular scheme has certain fundamental flaws. Which approach you want to follow? T2 is more comprehensive. How is that going to solve the legalization of MSP problem? That is a way forward as far as, how MSP can be improved upon. But with respect to legalization, that is not the way forward. No? Okay. This is my handwritten note. You can just have a look. I just prepared this in the form of a proper notes only. Recent context, present status. What do you mean by legalization of MSP? Pros, cons, way forward. And to generate points here, this side, cons. The framework that you should keep in your mind is, remember I told you the framework with respect to what are the problems okay. With respect to this, remember I told you we discussed about problems in the subsidy regime of India, right? For the problems in subsidy regime of India, I told you the framework. What is the framework? The first one is higher. Just see your notes. First point was higher burden, fiscal burden. Second point was exclusionary. Third point was distortionary. And fourth one is environmentally unsustainable. And last one is does not solve the structural problems. I've kept the same framework here also. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 are dealing with what? Burden. One is fiscal burden, which I told you, as per CRISIL, it is around 6 lakh crore. Administrative burden, then judicial burden, distortionary, violate WTO limit, problem of storage, demand for MSP. It will other sectors like livestock sector will also start demanding for MSP. Does not address structural problems, and it will also hurt agricultural exports because whatever government procures, that it cannot export. Look at the way forward. Way forward here, I mentioned about Maharashtra. I'll tell you what happened in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, in the year 2018, the Maharashtra government said that if any trader procures the crops below MSP, then they can be penalized. Which means partially what did Maharashtra government try out? Partially it did try out the method of legalization. That was in the year 2018. But it did not adopt it for long. Immediately after 1 or 2 cropping seasons, it realized that it is not going to be economically feasible. And it decided to withdraw this 2018 order. So that's what I mentioned. As seen in Maharashtra, legalization of MSP is neither economically viable or administratively feasible. So far, so clear, everyone? Any doubts? Huh. Huh. For that only we have PM Asha. That's the next one. Okay. Yeah, that clear? Okay. So you can leave some one page gap to incorporate this. Ensure that it is part of your notes. Legalization of MSP. Huh. With respect to challenge, what it can happen is there might be differences in terms of MSP, right? If there's a differences in MSP, what will happen is the farmers will obviously try to sow a crop whose MSP is higher. Now, for example, farmers in Punjab and Haryana, if they're getting assured price for rice and wheat, do you think there is an incentive for them to diversify towards other crops? No. So that is a challenge. But at the same time, farmers in Madhya Pradesh who want to cultivate oil seeds, if they are going to get a guaranteed price for oil seeds in terms of MSP, it can promote crop diversification. So that way the point can be a benefit also and a challenge also. depending upon the state that we're looking at. Okay, so next you can write PM Asha. PM Asha. Okay, so with respect to PM Asha, we are going to focus on background of PM Asha. Next is the components of PM Asha. Benefits of PM Asha. And the challenges. These are the dimensions that we are going to focus upon. Let's start with the background. Okay. I'll dictate these points, just pay attention. When you see PM Asha, this scheme was launched in the year 2018 for the first time. And the basic idea of PM Asha was to address the flaws in the present MSP regime of India. With respect to flaws in the MSP regime, I told you a keyword: low coverage. Low coverage of crops, low coverage of states, and low coverage of farmers. So to address these flaws, we launched PM Asha in the year 2018. But recently, that is just last year, 2024, this PM Asha scheme has undergone some major changes. If you have studied in your prelims module, there is a scheme in India. How many of you heard of this? Price Stabilization Fund. Anyone has heard? Only one? Okay. Price Stabilization Fund, or there is a scheme called as Market Intervention Scheme. These schemes, earlier they used to be standalone schemes, but now these two schemes, they have got merged into PM Asha. That is one major change. Second major change is, under PM Asha, earlier there was a separate component where the private sector was involved in procurement of oil seeds. Generally, you have heard of a particular cooperative called as NAFED. So now gonna NAFED. This particular cooperative generally procures pulses and oil seeds on behalf of FCI. But under PM Asha, in order to encourage more procurement of oil seeds, earlier we allowed even the private sector to undertake procurement. But this was not successful at all. So we have done away with this particular component. So two major changes. One, procurement by private sector has been done away with. And second, PSF and MIS has become part of PM Asha. Once I cover the components, you'll get more clarity on this. Do not worry. So right, background. PM Asha was launched in 2018 in order to address the present flaws. In order to address the present flaws in the MSP regime. In the MSP regime. Full stop. In 2024, the ambit of PM Asha was expanded to include Price Stabilization Fund, Price Stabilization Fund and Market Intervention Scheme. Price Stabilization Fund and Market Intervention Scheme. Okay, next you can write components of PM ASHA. Okay, here let's discuss the components. Under the component, the first component is price support scheme. Price support scheme. Price support scheme. Okay, let's see what it is, right? First bullet point. Physical procurement of pulses, oilseeds and copra. Pulses, pulses, oilseeds and copra. Copra is basically dried coconut. So you have tender coconut from where you get coconut water. Once it is dried, it becomes copra, right? So it provides for physical procurement of pulses, oilseeds and copra if market price falls below MSP. If market price falls below MSP. Next bullet point under this. Taken up only upon the request of the state government. Taken up only upon the request of the state government. Third, limit on procurement. Put a hyphen and write 25% of the national production. 25% of the national production. Okay, I hope you got to know what I'm trying to say. Limit on procurement means when the government is undertaking procurement, government has said there's no concept of unlimited procurement. Will undertake procurement only up to 25% of the national production. For example, groundnut is one of the oil seed. In 1 year, total production of groundnut across India is 100 tons. Government will not procure entire 100 tons. Government will procure only up to 25 tons. Is that part clear? Maximum. Limit on procurement means maximum. It can never exceed more than 25% of the national production. Now, this is different from open-ended procurement policy which the government is following for rice and wheat. For rice and wheat, we follow open-ended procurement policy. As the name suggests, open-ended means there is no limit on procurement of rice and wheat. Is that part clear? Okay. No, for one particular crop, individual crop. Okay. You raise your hand. Same. 25% of national production of a single crop. Okay. Next. Which one? No, the government has a national production. In 1 year. What if there's a let's say in one particular state, like state of Madhya Pradesh, which is the dominant producer of pulses in India. In that particular state itself, the central government has procured 25% of the national production. Already it has procured. Apart from Madhya Pradesh, even Maharashtra is also a major grower of pulses. And let's say Maharashtra government is requesting central government, you please implement this scheme in our state. Central government will say no, we are done with our quota of 25%. It will not undertake procurement in Maharashtra in that case. So far, though, it has not happened because we have introduced this in 2024. And you must understand, 25% itself is very high. Government has never procured it in their entire so far. The maximum it has done so far is, like last time I read, for tur dal, it was around 20%. Okay, full stop. However, procurement of tur dal, urad dal, and masoor dal. However, procurement of tur dal, urad dal, and masoor dal shall be unlimited. Shall be unlimited. So this is a new change which has come about now. Next one. Price deficiency payment scheme. Price deficiency payment scheme. Price deficiency payment scheme. Okay, right under this, compensation to the farmers. Compensation to the farmers on selling crops. Compensation to the farmers on selling crops below MSP. Below MSP. Second, presently it covers only oil seeds. Presently it covers only oil seeds. Third, compensation is limited to 15% of MSP. Compensation is limited to 15% of MSP. Okay, let's understand. But will he get this entire 20 rupees? No. He will get only 15 rupees because the compensation is limited to 15% of what? 15% of MSP. MSP is 100. So he'll get only 15 rupees. Clear with that? Okay. There's a mechanism to look into that. Okay. यहाँ तक clear है everyone? Next. Price stabilization fund. Next one is price stabilization fund. Price Stabilization Fund, PSF, Price Stabilization Fund. So let's see what it is. Price Stabilization Fund, everyone. Let's say in a particular year, there is a bumper production. And because of that bumper production, can we say that the prices will crash? As the prices crash, whom do you think it will affect if the prices fall? It will affect the farmers, because farmers will incur loss. So what will the government do? Since it is affecting the farmers, the government will undertake procurement at higher prices. Government will procure the crops from the farmers at a higher price. By undertaking procurement, the government is fulfilling two objectives. Which are these two objectives? Number one, by undertaking procurement at higher price, can I say that it is benefiting whom? The farmers. And second, by undertaking procurement, it is also able to build, yes, buffer stock, price stabilization fund. Similarly, think of it, if there is shortage of commodities, if there's shortage of commodities, can I say that the prices will increase? And here, if prices of agricultural commodities increase, it is most likely to affect consumers. So what will happen in this particular case? क्या करेगा government तब? Yes, government will release buffer stock. Government will release the buffer stock at lower prices. By releasing the buffer stock at lower prices, it is able to benefit the consumers and also reduce inflation. That is what is price stabilization fund. Which ministry do you think implements this fund? Take a guess. Ministry of Consumer Affairs. It is under Ministry of Consumer Affairs. Which all crops does it cover? Huh? With respect to coverage of commodities, it right now covers pulses, onion, potato, and last year two crops were added, rice and wheat. They were added in the year 2024. Tomato is not part of this. Tomato is not part of this. It has pulses, onion, and potato. This is in addition to what we already have, buffer stock. FCI procure करता है, buffer stock maintain करता है. Apart from that buffer stock that we are maintaining, this is the additional thing, price stabilization fund. Right, last year you must have heard, 2024, with respect to wheat, there was sudden shortage of wheat due to heat waves. So we wanted to build additional buffer of wheat. So we brought wheat under price stabilization fund. Similarly, we had the same problem with respect to rice also. There was acute shortage of rice. And you know that last year the government banned the export of non-basmati rice also because there was shortage. So we wanted to build more buffer of rice and wheat last year. So that is why in the year 2024, we brought rice and wheat under price stabilization fund. No, there's no. Huh. Why not tomato? There are some, because tomato as a commodity is covered under another scheme already. Which one? Storage, its storage cost is high. It's more of a perishable commodity. It's more perishable as compared to, let's say, potato and onion. Is this part clear? everyone? Okay. So this is the price stabilization fund. The next one, the next component is market intervention scheme. Market intervention scheme. Market intervention scheme. Okay, here you can write compensation to the farmers. Compensation to the farmers if they face loss. If they face loss on selling perishable, if they face loss on selling perishable horticultural commodities. Perishable horticultural commodities. Full stop. The compensation amount is fixed by the government. The compensation amount is fixed by the government. Online students, is my voice audible? Sayal, what should I repeat? Which part? Online students, please respond if my voice is audible. Okay. So here, market intervention scheme, like I said, it is only for the perishable agricultural commodities. It is almost similar to the scheme that we covered before, which is price deficiency payment scheme. But in case of PDPS, we can actually calculate the loss. The loss can be calculated as the difference between the MSP and the market price. Now this is easier to calculate because for oil seeds we are declaring MSP. But the problem is, see here, market intervention scheme is declared for perishable commodities. And for perishable commodities, is there any MSP? Obviously, there's no MSP. So the government will fix how much compensation we should transfer to the farmer's bank account. Earlier, what used to happen? Earlier, government used to undertake procurement earlier, before 2024. But the problem is government itself does not has cold storage facilities. That is when in 2024, the government decided rather than undertaking procurement, what we'll do is we will just pay them compensation. This is a change which was adopted last year in 2024. Did you get the point? Okay. So under PM ASHA, you have basically 4 components which becomes important for your prelims examination also. Understand it. Now based upon this components and the background, I'm very sure you will be able to generate points with respect to the next component, next dimension, which is benefits. 1 minute, brainstorm. Do not write it in your main copy, write it in rough. What do you think are the benefits of PM ASHA? Okay, thanks, Paramjit. Okay, last to last year, 2023, there was a question in mains examination please concentrate. The question was, examine the role of buffer stock in stabilizing agricultural prices. 2023 means examine the role of buffer stock in stabilizing agricultural prices. Can you make the same diagram? The flowchart which I have shown you here. The same flowchart you can write it to show this is how buffer stock can be used to stabilize agricultural prices. क्या पॉइंट जनरेट किया आपने? हाँ, yeah, good, good, good. The answer is right in front of your eyes actually. हाँ, हाँ, हाँ. Okay, good. What about you? Any points you have generated? Then, huh? Only one. Hmm? Yeah, it's a good point. So he has a very good point. He says government's fiscal burden will reduce. It is more fiscally sustainable. The reason is very simple. What is the procurement for rice and wheat? What kind of policy we are following for rice and wheat? Open-ended. What kind of policy here it is? Close-ended. There's a limited procurement. So that way, on one hand, it is good for the farmers that we are giving them incentives, and at the same time, it is good for the government also because the government is able to limit its subsidy bill. Good. Huh, good. Okay. Huh, good. Good, good, good. Okay, let's start here with the benefits. And like I said, the answer is actually in front of your eyes. I'll start my first point with the background. Why was PM Asha introduced, by the way? To address the flaws in the MSP regime. Can I say this itself is your first benefit? That it addresses the flaws in the MSP regime. So with respect to benefits, the first one is address the flaws in the MSP regime by expanding the coverage of crops, farmers, as well as the states. That's the first benefit. Second, with respect to price support scheme, सबसे बड़ा benefit क्या है? Price support scheme. Look at the crops for which the price support scheme is applicable for. Pulses and oil seeds. Can I say it will help us promote crop diversification? Promote crop diversification and ensure self-sufficiency in pulses. What percentage of pulses are imported into India? 20%. And what about the oil seeds? 57%, right? So that is what you need to write. Self-sufficiency in pulses as well as oil seeds. Okay. I told you that this scheme, when I was discussing the mechanism, right? We discussed that there's a limit on procurement. Because there's a limit on procurement, we can say that it is financially more sustainable since there is limit on procurement. What do you think is the biggest benefit of PDPS? Price Deficiency Payment Scheme. Huh? Prevent the distress sale. That is there in PSS also. I want something more substantial. Maximum compensation का limit तो हुआ है. After that, सोचो. Is the government actually procuring here? Government is not procuring. What is the government doing? Government is compensating. Can I say one biggest benefit is administrative burden on the government with respect to procurement of oil seeds reduces. You can say it can reduce the administrative burden on the government. Good. So, you can say reduces administrative burden of procurement of oil seeds under PDPS. With respect to price stabilization fund, we can say it will help us control price volatility and hence benefit the consumers and the farmers. And with respect to market intervention scheme, you can say it will promote more investment in horticulture due to compensation in event of losses. Due to compensation in event of losses. So there's nothing to be remembered here, nothing to be mugged up. You just know the components, from there only you can generate the points easily. Perishable horticultural commodities. That is Operation Greens. Operation Greens is not part of PM Asha. Operation Green was earlier limited to top, tomato, onion, potato. Now it has become total, all fruits and vegetables. There the government is giving only transport subsidy to the farmers. It can bring that crop diversification only can extend, it can write. It can you can say that. Is this part clear? Okay. Let's see now the challenges part. What are the biggest challenges with PM Asha? Okay, I would say it's too early to carry out a critical analysis of PM Asha, particularly because PM Asha has got changed last year itself, 2024. Usually what UPSC does is UPSC asks a question on challenges of a scheme which is quite old. If this scheme is a new scheme which has got changed in last year itself, very rarely UPSC will ask you about challenges. The focus will be more upon what? Benefits. But still, we have to be ready for the worst also. You never know. UPSC could throw a bouncer and ask you to write about challenges. So let's discuss the biggest challenge with PM Asha. one biggest challenge of PM Asha is, okay, lack of access to APMCs. Let's understand what do you mean by this lack of access to APMCs. Under PM Asha, the government has said to all the farmers that if you want to get benefits of PM Asha, you must compulsorily sell the agriculture produce only within the mandis. It means when we are taking physical procurement of pulses, oilseeds and copra, the physical procurement is taking place in the mandis. PDPS, only if a farmer is selling oilseeds to a trader below MSP within a APMC, only then the farmer will get the benefit. If farmer is selling outside APMC, whatever price he might be selling, the farmer will never get the benefit of compensation. So the government has said if you want to get the benefit of PM Asha, you must compulsorily sell it in mandis, only then you can get the benefit. The problem we covered in the last class when we are discussing the challenges in agriculture marketing. Remember the data? What did Swaminathan committee say? One average APMC should serve an area of 80 square kilometer. But right now, an average APMC is covering an area of 407 square kilometer. Is that part clear? So, right. Lack of access to APMCs. Benefits under PM Asha. Benefits under PM Asha are available only to benefits under PM Asha are available only to those farmers who sell their produce within mandis. Full stop. However, an average APMC serves an area of 407 square kilometer against the requirement of 80 square kilometer. Okay. Next one is issues with PDPS, Price Deficiency Payment Scheme. Price Deficiency Payment Scheme. Huh? No, there's something more substantial. Okay, here I'll dictate this point, just pay attention. Under PM Asha, what are we saying is, we will say for groundnut, we will fix MSP of rupees 100, and if the farmer is selling the groundnut in the market at say rupees 90, in that particular case the loss incurred by the farmer is rupees 10. This loss is directly transferred to farmer's bank account through DBT. The main idea of why we have come up with this particular component is to prevent exploitation of farmers by the traders. This is a basic idea of PDPS. Government intention is very good here, but you know what has happened? Under PDPS, the government has tried to prevent the exploitation of farmers by the traders. But here the problem is, the farmers and traders, they have become one now. दोनों एक साथ हो हैं. And these two together, they are exploiting the government itself. How are they able to do it? For example, MSP is 100. market price, let's say the farmer in this particular case, he sells groundnut at rupees 100 only. He's getting 100 rupees from the trader. But on paper, when they're registering a trade, right? On paper, they'll register that the farmer has got only how much? 90. And then they'll show to the government, look, I've incurred a loss of 10 rupees. So the government will transfer 10 rupees to farmer's bank account. And so trader will tell the farmer, you keep 5 rupees with you and give 5 rupees to me. I hope you understood, right? This scheme actually was borrowed from MP government, which is called as Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana of MP. When this scheme was launched in MP, the scheme was very powerful in encouraging the farmers to grow more pulses and oil seeds. Government introduced this scheme under PM Asha. But then what happened is in MP, the government got to know that this kind of unfair collusion is taking place. Nexus is taking place between the traders and the farmers. In Madhya Pradesh, they decided to do away with the scheme. But for the central government, it was too late. Because by then we had already launched the scheme with a lot of fanfare. That is why, whenever you hear about the government schemes, which scheme do you normally hear from the government? Whenever you hear Prime Minister Modi's speeches on agriculture, which scheme do you hear mostly prominently? PM Kisan. And you'll also hear about MSP. Very rarely you'll hear about PM Asha. Because deliberately the government in the last 2 to 3 years has downplayed the implementation of PM Asha, where adequate money was not allocated for PM Asha. So the scheme as such remained only on paper. It is not properly implemented because of this kind of unfair collusion. Did you get the point? Okay. In exam, you don't have so much of bandwidth, just 1 or 2 lines should be sufficient, right? Issues with PDPS, unfair collusion. Unfair collusion between the traders and the farmers, wherein the market prices were deliberately reported lower to take undue benefits. Okay. Next, under issues with PDPS only, low enrollment of farmers due to poor financial literacy. Okay. Next is, because we are talking about price stabilization fund, we can also highlight the issues with buffer stock policy. Okay, let's understand what is this issue with buffer stock policy. I must have explained to you in the previous class, but we'll take it forward from that particular class. Okay. This is as per Economic Survey 23-24. As per Economic Survey 23-24, let's say within agriculture, in 1 year, there is a surplus production. In case of surplus production, can we say that prices will crash? Prices of agricultural commodities will crash. As the prices crash, this will have adverse effect on the farmers. But let's say, in case if there is shortage, in case of shortage, what will happen is prices of agricultural commodities will also increase. Yet, farmer loses out. I hope you are able to remember, we covered this in the last class. Why is farmer losing out even when the prices increase? Government is? Yes. So here, when the government is this shortage, right? In case of shortage, prices are increasing, and as soon as the prices increase, what happens immediately is government will release the buffer stock. Government will immediately release the buffer stock, and as soon as the buffer stock gets released, prices will be lower, and as the prices fall, ultimately the farmer will lose out. Farmer will not get good price, na? Farmers agar price kam ho raha hai, to farmer will not get good amount. Apart from that, another problem is with respect to buffer stock policy. Ideally, when should the government build buffer stock? You tell me. Should the government build buffer stock when it is surplus or when there is already a shortage? Whenever there is a surplus, the government should build buffer stock when there is already a surplus. Government should never build buffer stock when there is a shortage. But the problem in India is exactly reverse. The problem in India is government will try to build a buffer stock when there is already a shortage. Why? Why is the government doing that? Anyone? No. No, there's something else. Huh? Okay, I'll tell you what. Here, ideally, what should happen if I'm the government? No? I should carry out a detailed study of the weather pattern, about the cropping pattern. After studying the detailed weather pattern, cropping pattern, in this season itself, right now itself, I should be able to anticipate ki future. In future, there could be a shortage of agricultural commodities. I should not wait for the future when will be a shortage and then procure. Now itself, I should build a buffer stock. Do you get the point? But normally in India, what happens is predicting future weather is very, very difficult. Predicting future cropping pattern in India is very, very difficult. So the government's buffer stock policy mostly happens to be ad hoc in nature. So right now, think of it. Ideally, क्या होना चाहिए? We are in 2025. In 2026, we must anticipate next year what could happen. If next year, if we are going to have a shortage of wheat, for example, if there's a shortage of wheat, what will happen to prices? Prices are likely to increase. Should we wait until 2026 for that procurement to take place? Never. Instead, in 2025 itself, what we should do is we should anticipate that this could be a situation. Based upon that, in 2025 itself, we must undertake procurement and build buffer stock. So this kind of planning is very important. In simple words, if I can tell you in a very crude manner, मेंस कब है? मेंस नेक्स्ट ईयर है. अभी आप यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हो? मेंस की तैयारी कर रहे हो. अभी क्यों कर रहे हो आप? So that you are well prepared for next year means. If you have this kind of foresight, the government should also have that kind of foresight or not. Last year, 2024, I told you that in India, we had shortage of rice and wheat last year. Last year, when there was shortage of wheat, you know what is the government doing? Just look at your flow chart, everyone. जब shortage होगा तो क्या करना चाहिए government को? Just look at the flow chart which I did. We discuss here. In case of shortage, when the prices increase, government, what it should do? Government should release the buffer stock. But 2024, when there already a shortage, what is the government trying to do? Government was trying to build the buffer stock, जिससे कि price और क्या ज़्यादा हो गया. Getting a point? That is why in mains of last year, we had this question about what examine the role of buffer stock policy in food stabilization. Okay. So right, next point. That's what I'm saying. It's little very difficult because El Nino, La Nina, we don't know how much it is going to affect. But at the same time, that cannot be excuse. Getting it? So if you get into economics division of the government, of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, you cannot say difficult है weather के लिए. We must try to build some models कि we must be able to predict, है ना? हाँ तो वो तो लास्ट टाइम हमने बोला ही था ना, हमेशा गवर्नमेंट किसका दिखता है? कंज्यूमर्स का ही दिखता है, बिकॉज कंज्यूमर्स कंस्टिट्यूट अ लार्ज वोट बैंक एज कंपेयर टू फार्मर्स. Which one? Huh. Mm-hmm. Lag as in like? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Market intervention is what? हाँ. Yeah. हाँ. That's what, when I say market intelligence, means you should not just think about the present year. You should also think about what is the future cropping pattern, future cropping production. Unless that kind of market intelligence you don't have about the future, you will not be able to have a very good buffer stock policy. I think it should be at least for one to 2 years. Like for example, if you look at a buffer stock, the biggest problem with a buffer stock policy is even now we are maintaining buffer stock of only rice and wheat. Why should we not maintain buffer stock of, let's say, pulses, oil seeds? I think the need to import pulses should not arise in the first place. Like last time when there was shortage of pulses, we started importing pulses. Good thing was last year there was no global shortage of pulses. Imagine last year if there was global shortage of pulses, what would have happened to our import bill? Import bill would have further increased. So one of the biggest recommendation which has been given by a lot of economists is our buffer stock should be expanded to cover other commodities also. It should not be just limited to rice and wheat. But to what extent the advanced estimate is matching up to realities, we know that, right? If you see last year, no one anticipated that we'll have an intense heat waves and sudden the wheat production in India will fall. We anticipated heat waves, but the extent of fall in the yield was not anticipated. Sudden fall in the wheat production. That's what happened last year. So then we had to take some sudden actions, knee-jerk actions, like banning the export of wheat and banning the export of rice. We have to do that. We have to do that. We need to have better forecasting methods actually. Panic. And last time you would be surprised to know when government, I'd not go into this, but last time, uh, this is a very rare situation which happens in India. This happened last year. Okay. So I was saying this, like when last time during when government was trying to build buffer stock, especially when there was a shortage, government was competing with the private sector because private sector also wanted to procure these commodities. Private sector asked the government asked private sector to stay away from procurement. Now this is something which is rare, which happens in India. This happened last year, right? Next one. I hope you have incorporated this thing. Issues with buffer stock policy under that, right? हाँ, गवर्नमेंट ने बोला है तो ऑब्वियसली गवर्नमेंट विल एंश्योर दैट द प्राइवेट सेक्टर डज नॉट प्रोक्योर. वो तो पेपर में बोलते हैं कि स्टॉप प्रोक्योरिंग, बट ऑन द ग्राउंड गवर्नमेंट विल एंश्योर दैट दे डोंट प्रोक्योर. लीगली तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, but government has some mechanisms to ensure that private sector does not procure. Okay. I hope you have taken down until here. Okay. Next part you can write down. Similarly, the government's buffer stock policy. Similarly, government's buffer stock policy is ad hoc, AD-HOC, ad hoc, wherein the government builds buffer stock when there is already shortage of commodities. As seen in 2024. Full stop. This further leads to increase in prices. This further leads to increase in the prices. Okay. So we have a separate topic, issues with buffer stock policy. That particular topic is part of your PDS, public distribution system. We'll come to that particular topic later. As of now, with respect to PM ASHA, if you know these 2 to 3 challenges, that is more than sufficient. Okay, everyone? Okay, write down the next topic now. Huh? Strategies to abhi to once we cover the buffer stock only they can write. You can add that. But so far it has not been criticized widely because even that whatever limit we have set now, 15% of MSP, so far it has not been criticized, and everyone has said it is sufficient enough, because if you increase that limit now, then collusion might further increase. At least now, even if collusion takes place, government burden is limited to just 15%. Next slide, ENAM, National Agriculture Market. ENAM, National Agriculture Market. Okay, under ENAM, the topics that we are going to cover is meaning of ENAM, present status of ENAM, next is need for ENAM, working mechanism, how ENAM actually works, recent achievements, challenges, and strategies. So these are the dimensions that we are going to cover. Okay. So with respect to ENAM, what we'll do is we'll come to meaning and present status later. I'm going to start off with this. That is why we need ENAM. Logically, we'll understand why there's a need for ENAM. Then you yourself will tell me what is ENAM, and later the benefits and challenges. Let's start with the need. In the last class, we discussed that there are some problems with the agriculture marketing. The keyword which I said is agriculture marketing is restrictive, fragmented, pro-trader, and anti-farmer. Let's concentrate on the first word, which is agriculture marketing regime is considered to be fragmented. Why it is fragmented? If I say from the perspective of the farmer, it is considered to be fragmented because the farmer is allowed to sell only within a specific APMC zone. Remember, we covered this. Like I belong to one particular APMC zone. For me, I can sell my agriculture produce only in that zone only. I cannot sell it in other zone where I might get a higher price. This is from perspective of farmer. Why it is fragmented from the perspective of a trader? They cannot purchase agriculture produce from another APMC because the trader will get a license which is linked to one APMC only. So, trader cannot purchase agriculture produce from other APMCs as license is linked to specific APMC. The trader is getting license for one specific APMC. So, because it is fragmented, we discussed that there is no one nation, one market. How many mandis we have in India? 7,057, right? So we do not have one single mandi. We have almost around 7,000 mandis across India, and these mandis are not linked to one another. Apart from that, I also discussed that agriculture marketing regime is pro-trader and anti-farmer. What's the reason that we gave for this problem? Cartelization. Then we also discuss that there is multiple point levy. What is this multiple point levy? Multiple taxes वो एक है, but I'm not saying multiple taxes. I'm saying multi-point levy. Multiple point levy. What is that called as? Cascading effect of tax. याद है cascading effect? Like I gave an example कि a farmer sells onion in Lasangaon Mandi, When a farmer sells onion in Lasanga Mandi, first time a tax is collected. The same onion is later sold in Azadpur Mandi in Delhi. Once again, the tax is collected. Ideally, it should not be collected once again because the tax is already paid in the Lasanga Mandi. So multiple times, if you impose levy, what will happen to price of the agricultural commodities? Increases. Ultimately, it goes against the interest of the consumers who have to shell out higher price. Further, we also discussed another problem, that the infrastructure in APMC mandis is quite poor. Because of this poor infrastructure, how much is the post-harvest losses? 90,000 crores. Good. Post-harvest losses amounting to 90,000 crores. No. We'll come to the mini. I'm linking this to what is ENAM. So these are the problems. So right now we have around 7,000 APMCs. These APMCs are not linked to one another, which means there will be different multiple markets in India. So it might so happen in India. Okay, just pay attention. Let's say this is Lasangao Mandi. I told you it is famous for what? Onion. And let's say this is Azadpur Mandi in Delhi. A situation may arise where there is surplus onions in Lasangao. Surplus onions in Lasangao means the price of the onion has crashed, which means the farmers in Lasangao Mandi are losing out. In fact, it might so happen that these farmers might be even throwing onion on the roads as a sign of protest that they are not getting good price. On the contrary, in Azadpur Mandi of Delhi, it might so happen that there is acute shortage of onion. Because there's shortage of onion, it might lead to increase in price. And if prices increase, it is going to affect the consumers. Can you see two contrasting Indias? In one part of India, farmers are throwing away onion on the roads, while in other part of India, the customers want more onions. It's a contrasting part. How do you solve this problem then? क्या करना चाहिए? Link these two mandis. By linking these two mandis, can I say the farmers will get benefited from Lasangao because the farmers can sell that onion to a consumer in Azadpur. They'll get a higher price. Benefit for a consumer is they will have access to onion from the another state. So that is why we need something like ENAM portal. Getting it, everyone? So right, the meaning of ENAM. Meaning, ENAM is an electronic platform. ENAM is an electronic platform to link all the mandis, in the bracket APMCs. SV, is it clear now? APMCs and private mandis. APMCs and private mandis, bracket close. And this is something very interesting. ENAM is not just for linking APMC mandis. ENAM is also for linking private mandis. Remember, there are some states which have private mandis. We discussed some of these states include Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, UP. So in these states, they are private mandis and they can also get integrated into ENAM. Bracket close. To create one nation, one market. To create one nation, one market. Full stop. It is operated by SFAC, Small Farmers Agri Business Consortium. Small Farmers Agri Business Consortium. Anyone has heard of this? Okay. Those of you who don't know about it, this is an organization which is also considered to be the nodal agency for the promotion of FPOs in India. So recently, Prime Minister Modi declared that we have set up 10,000 FPOs across India. These FPOs have been established under the leadership of SFAC, Small Farmers Agribusiness Consortium. Next para. States willing to join ENAM must fulfill the below criteria. Number one nation, one license. One state, one license. One state, one license. Second one, single point levy. Third, price discovery through auction. Okay, these things are important for your prelims also. Understand. So it is mandated that compulsory a state should provide for one state, one license. Instead of multiple point levy, they should have only single point levy. And compulsorily, there should be an auction. And by having auction, what we can do is, we can ensure that there is no cartelization, or we can ensure the farmers are getting good price. So we are able to solve this problem. We are also able to solve this problem. And because we are interlinking all the mandis, we are able to create one nation, one market. Okay, let's come to the next one. Present status. Okay. Whenever you're writing present status, next year, I'll just tell you what is the present status now. Next year, this will change for sure. That time you must update the data. And from where should you update the data? I'll tell you. When you click on ENAM, this will take to your separate portal, ENAM portal. If you go to this portal, right? Can you see यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? ENAM coverage. This is quite dynamic. It changes quite repeatedly. Every month or every 2 months, this data gets changed. So when you're writing the mains next year, that time you must update the data from this particular site. But as of October 2025, you can see how many mandis are integrated. 1,522 mandis. Across how many states? 23 states and 4 UTs. कौन से states or UTs are not part of this mandi? ENAM. Mostly the northeastern states. There are some states like Manipur, Mizoram, Sikkim, they are not implemented, but other states to have APMs. Bihar does not have. Okay. Then you can see some UTs also, they do not have this, they are not integrated with the ENAM. मंडीज तो होंगे ना? हाँ, अनरेगुलेटेड मंडीज होंगे ना? अनरेगुलेटेड मंडीज तो होंगे. ओके. नहीं, दिल्ली का भी नहीं है. आजादपुर मंडी इज नॉट इंटीग्रेटेड. राइट. प्रेजेंट स्टेटस. Presently 1522 mandis. Presently 1522 mandis across 23 states and 4 UTs have got integrated into ENAM. Full stop. Around 1.79 crore farmers. Around 1.79 crore farmers sell their produce through ENAM. Full stop. The total value of agricultural produce, sold through ENAM has crossed 4 lakh crores. So this is a recent data that total value of trade on ENAM has crossed 4 lakh crore. So this is the present status. So just remember that whenever you're writing about the number of mandis integrated, this data is from October 2025. So you must update it from the website. Okay. Let's see the working mechanism of ENAM. How does ENAM basically works? Not very important, but for your understanding, okay, just pay attention now. These are the steps involved. No need to incorporate this because I don't think UPSC will ask you this. It is just for your general understanding. What happens under ENAM? Let's say I'm a farmer. I want to sell my agricultural produce. Step 1 is I have to register myself on the ENAM platform. That's the first step. Second step, once the farmer is registered, farmer will get his agricultural produce. But kahan pe? Into mandis once again. It means we have a new system. New system is ENAM. This new system is once again built on the existing or outdated system. कौन सा outdated system हमारा? APMC. Still the farmer is still coming to mandis only. He's not going anywhere. He's still coming to mandis. And as soon as he makes an entry into the mandi, right? There is generation of electronic pass at the gate. Every mandi will have a gate. At that particular gate, an electronic pass is generated. This pass will basically tell us what is the quantity of agriculture produce which the farmer is getting into mandi. Quantity. Once the farmer gets into the mandi, every mandi which is part of ENAM, they will have they will have food testing labs. Every mandi will have food testing lab. What happens in this particular lab is will undertake a certification of the quality, what kind of quality it is. Now, for example, you must have heard that rice comes in different varieties. No? Like we have basmati rice and we have non-basmati rice. Even among non-basmati rice also you have different varieties depending upon the state in which the rice is grown. For example, you must have heard of a variety called as Sona Masuri rice. Hai na? So there's a different variety of rice. So in the food testing laboratories, farmers will undertake a quality check of the crops. Once the quality check is done, all the necessary details, that is, what is the quantity, what is the quality, all those details are uploaded on the ENAM portal. Let's say I am a farmer in Maharashtra, in Lasangaon Mandi. These details are uploaded on the ENAM. You are traders, and let's say you are traders from different states of India. Now, what you can do from different states, from your mandi, you can do a online bidding for the purchase of this agricultural commodity. Think of it, until now, I told you that agriculture marketing is fragmented. It means until now, if I'm a farmer in Lasangaon Mandi, for me the market was only Lasangaon. The traders were placing the bids. वो कौन से traders थे? Only the traders in Lasangaon. But now, the traders who are going to place a bid, they will belong to Lasangaon Mandi, or they might belong to other mandis in Maharashtra, or any other mandi across India. Three types of bids or three types of traders will find here. Number one, you can find, there's some problem here. No, that's okay. Okay, I'll discuss that later also. Step 4, there's one type of trade which is intra-mandi trade. Intra-mandi trade means the traders who is placing a bid, they belong to the same mandi. Intra-mandi. Second one is intrastate. Intrastate. It means the traders belong to the same state, not necessarily the same mandi. Third one is interstate. Interstate means the traders belong to another state. So whoever is placing the highest bid, highest auction, to that particular person I will sell the agriculture produce. Who do you think will arrange for the logistics? Understand, farmer is not required to arrange for logistics. Government is also not arranging for logistics. Government is just creating a platform. Ultimately, the transport of agriculture produce would have to be taken care by the trader who purchases it. So logistics is arranged by the trader. So this is a working mechanism. समझ में आया सबको? Do you have any doubts here? Okay. So this is the working mechanism. If you want, you can just take this down quickly. APMC mandis. All this infrastructure will be there in mandis. Farmer only. Yeah. Process as in like what kind of process? This is something which has been a guideline laid down by the central government. So because the guideline laid down by the central government, all the states would have to put in the necessary infrastructure. Only then their mandis can get integrated into ENAM. So let's say there's a particular mandi in the state of Karnataka. This mandi does not has a basic infrastructure like it does not has internet connection, it does not has food testing labs, it does not has online bidding, that mandi will not be part of ENAM. Ah. We have dedicated people to do that. Farmers will not be doing it. You can't expect farmers to operate laptops, computers and upload all the details. That is taken care by dedicated personnel. हाँ हाँ dedicated team will upload all the details. नहीं नहीं वो अभी तक तो हुआ नहीं है. हाँ. Like I said, he also asked the same question. It might so happen that in one state, only some mandis have the necessary infrastructure to get integrated into ENAM. Other mandis, if they do not have necessary infrastructure like internet connection, food testing labs, then these mandis will not get be part of ENAM. No? What? I did not get your point. No, his question was how come within one state only few mandis are part of ENAM, why others are not? So this was his question. That's more to do with the necessary infrastructure which is needed to become part of ENAM. Hmm. Other person as in like? We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Is this part clear, everyone? Huh. We are implementing some of the points of farm laws, but not entirely, because first farm law gave freedom to farmer to sell the produce outside mandis. Here they're not selling it outside mandis. They're still selling within the mandis only, no? Huh, throughout India they're selling, but the trader who is purchasing, where is he sitting? He is still sitting in a mandi, na? Like I gave an example, I'm a farmer who is bringing onion to Lasanga mandi. You are a trader. You are a trader from some other mandi also, na? It means I'm not still allowed to sell outside the mandi. It's still within the mandi only. Except the fact that earlier I was supposed to sell my agriculture produce in one specific mandi. Now I have access to all the mandis across India. That's the only change. If that private mandi is integrated with the ENAM, then they can do it. But very few private mandis have got integrated with the ENAM. It's mostly APMC mandis. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the recent achievements in the ENAM. With respect to recent achievements, the first recent achievement is FPO based trading module. FPO based trading module. FPO based trading module, put a hyphen and write, enables FPOs to sell their produce directly from collection centers integrated with the ENAM, directly from the collection centers integrated with the ENAM. Okay, let's pay attention here. Let's say we all are farmers. We have come together to form a FPO, farmer producer organization. All of us, let's say we grow a common crop like onion. Once we grow a common crop, all of us can come together. That onion we can aggregate at one particular place. Aggregate means we put all the onion in one particular place. That place we call it as collection center. Now, recently what we have done, we have integrated even the collection centers with the eNAM portal. So we as farmers of FPO, we need not take our onion to mandis. We can sell the agriculture produce directly from the collection centers. What do you think is the biggest advantage here? Transportation cost will reduce. Do you get the point? Continue. This enables the FPOs to reduce their transportation cost. This enables the FPOs to reduce their transportation cost. Collection centers पे ही होगा सब कुछ. They will have the necessary infrastructure. जो कुछ भी infrastructure APMC में रहेगा, that infrastructure will be there in the collection centers. Food testing labs, internet connectivity, all those things. Next. You must understand smaller FPOs do not have so much of money to invest so much. It's only for large FPOs. Next one is warehousing based trading module. Warehousing based trading module. Put hyphen and right. Enables the farmers to sell their agriculture produce. Enables the farmers to sell their agriculture produce directly from the warehouses. Directly from warehouses integrated with eNAM. Directly from the warehouses integrated with the eNAM. So this is another recent achievement of eNAM. So farmer need not go to mandi. Farmer can go to the nearest godown, provided that godown is integrated with eNAM. From that godown, he can directly sell the agricultural produce now. That's the second. Third, Uberization of logistics. Uberization of logistics. Okay, let's understand what is this Uberization, everyone. Let's say I am a trader in the state of Maharashtra and I procure some agricultural produce from a farmer who is based in the state of Karnataka. What I have to do now? I have to provide for transportation of agriculture produce from Karnataka to Maharashtra. Earlier, what used to happen is this particular trader, he used to individually contact different logistic partners. Individually used to contact them and ask them how much money would you take to transport the goods from Karnataka to Maharashtra. A lot of bargaining had to be done earlier. But now we have gone for Uberization of logistics, which means now if I'm a trader in Maharashtra, whenever I purchase this agriculture produce from a farmer in Karnataka, immediately it will take me to a different module. In that module, I'll get a list of all the logistic partners. And every logistic partner will quote how much price they would charge me for transporting agriculture produce from Karnataka to Maharashtra. It is just like saying you want to book a cab from here to airport. You open your Ola, you check your fare, close Ola, you open your Uber, then check the fare. दोनों में से कौन सा cheap है? You take that particular cab. That option we are giving to a trader under what? Uberization of logistics. Did you get the point? What is good about it? It will promote more interstate trade. It will reduce the logistic cost. This is what is Uberization of logistics. समय आया सबको? Right. Enable traders to choose among, enable the traders to choose among multiple logistic partners. Multiple logistic partners. Uberization of logistics. Okay. Fourth one. Platform of platforms. Platform of platforms. Let's understand what is this meaning of platform of platforms. For that, in your day-to-day life, you have heard about apps, mobile apps. At the same time, I'm very sure some of you may have heard about what is called as super apps. Now, super apps are basically those apps which provide for multi-functional role of a single app. It's like saying one app is performing multiple roles at once. Example being, I want to book a movie ticket. For booking a movie ticket, there's a separate app, Book My Show. I want to book a flight ticket. For booking flight ticket, there's a separate app, Make My Trip. For different purposes, I am having a separate app. But what if there's one super app in which I can do multiple things all at once? That we call it as super app. Can you give me one single example of such a super app? Paytm is one such super app. Or you must have heard about the Tata's ka naya app. Tata Neu. Yes, Tata Click. It's a kind of an app where you can do multiple things all at once. Come to this. I'm saying that Enam has now become a platform of platforms. It's like Enam has becoming a kind of super app. If I am a farmer, to take credit, to take loans, I might have to have a single app. To buy machineries, I might have a different app. To buy seeds, I might have a different app. Now, all these things have now become part of which platform now? Enam. Enam, which initially started its journey purely as a marketing platform, purely as a platform which enables farmers to sell their produce, this platform has become a one-stop solution which is catering to all the needs of the farmers. If I ask you as a farmer, what all things do you need? You tell me. Starting from you. You tell me what, as a farmer, what do you need? Anything. Seeds. One, seeds. Then credit. Fertilizers. Then you want to buy machineries. Good. Then what else? That's it. He says logistics. He says logistics. I want to transport my agriculture produce from my farm to APMC. Good. You want to store your agriculture produce also, no? You want to do aggregation, or you want to do primary processing. Primary processing means cleaning, sorting, and grading. Or you want to have a weather advisory services. For all of these, now you don't have to have a separate app. You don't have to go to multiple platform. All these things are now taken care within the Enam only. Do you understand this point? For example, these are the services now which are provided under Enam. You can do a trading now. I'll dictate this point, so not worry. You can do a trading, assaying, that is testing, transportation, warehousing, fintech. Fintech means you can directly take loans. Think of it, if I'm a farmer, I can go and store my agriculture produce in a warehouse. Once I store the agriculture produce in a warehouse, I can actually using that agriculture produce as a collateral, I can take a loan also. Next, agriculture advisory, market information, institutional buyer. There are some states which allow the farmer to sell it directly to big buyers. So they can directly sell it to institutional buyers. All these things. For example, this is an app called as Bijak. Earlier, the farmers had to separately download this app Bijak for all of these purposes, including a purchase of seeds. Now, this app has now become part of eNAM. Similarly, you have this app called as AgriBazaar. Can you see what kind of services this apps provide for? AgriBazaar provides for market for inputs to purchase various inputs, online auction, a separate card on the lines of KCC, Kisan, credit card. So all these services you can now avail through eNAM. समझ में आया? No doubts now? So this is the biggest change which has happened with respect to eNAM. It is no longer a platform only for sale of agriculture produce. Okay. So you can write down. You understood it out? On eNAM. Warehousing receipts trading is there now. Trader has procured it. Warehouse. Okay. He should be allowed to do so. I don't think there's any kind of restriction on that, because generally we see it from the perspective of farmer, but once the farmer sells it through a warehouse, once you get a negotiable warehousing receipt, that you can very well sell it. It's quite possible. Okay, write down. As a platform of platforms, eNAM, eNAM provides different services such as, number one, purchase agricultural inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, machines, credit, etc. Second, weather advisory services, weather advisory services. Third, post-harvest services, such as primary processing, storage, etc. and sale to institutional buyers, such as food processing industries, such as food processing industries. Okay, so all these things are the recent achievements with respect to ENAM. Let's focus on the challenges. Okay, with respect to challenges, any idea what are the challenges? Take a guess. To a certain extent, some points are already covered here. Still have to go to APMCs. Good. Then, not all states are linked. But before that, देखो मैंने when I started present status, how many mandis are interlinked? Yes, 1,522 mandis. But how many mandis we have? We have more than 7,000 mandis. So very limited penetration of mandis. Why? क्या reason हो सकता है? Because of lack of infrastructure. Imagine like this. When I was explaining to you about the working mechanism of ENAM, like I showed you the working mechanism in form of a flow chart, where I told you that a farmer will come to mandi. There's an electronic gate at the mandi. Electronic gate will open like this. A pass is generated. The farmer will take to a food testing laboratory. The details are uploaded on the ENAM. Farmer is staring at the computer laptop जहाँ पे highest bidder है. To that particular bidder, the farmer is selling. Don't you think बहुत ज़्यादा sci-fi type लग रहा है ना ये सब? It looks more sci-fi, like you're imagining farmer sitting in suit and boot, staring at laptop, computer, and seeing ki who's the highest bidder. And we're talking about electronic gate at the APMCs. Forget gates. The APMCs do not have proper compound also. Understand that, right? So that is why, since most of the mandis do not have necessary infrastructure, very less mandis have got integrated. That's the first thing. Second, how many farmers are now selling their agriculture produce on mandis? 1.79. How many farmers does India has? Farmers. 46% of the workforce are dependent on agriculture. I'm saying farmers. Okay. You know, right now, India does not has an official data on number of farmers. This is very surprising. We call our farmers as Annadata, but we don't even know who are our Annadatas. Right now, we do not have an official estimate on number of farmers. But if you hear Prime Minister Modi's speech and Amit Shah's speech, whenever they talk about farmers, they quote a number. The number which they quote is 11 to 12 crore farmers. So out of 11 to 12 crore farmers, how many farmers are actually selling the produce on the mandis? Just around 1.79, which is obviously too less. Why? Why are less farmers selling their agriculture produce? Once again, they have to come to mandis only, and mandis are located far away from the villages. 1.79 crores, sorry. 1.79 crores. I think I've dictated crores only, no? Okay, please write down. These are two things, the other points also. Challenges, first one, limited penetration of mandis, right? Only 1,522 mandis. Only 1,522 mandis out of more than 7,000 mandis. Out of more than 7,000 mandis are integrated into ENAM. Are integrated into ENAM due to poor infrastructure. Due to poor infrastructure, such as absence of internet connectivity, food testing labs, etc. Second, poor coverage of farmers, poor coverage of farmers, poor coverage of farmers, put a hyphen and write, out of 11 to 12 crore farmers, out of 11 to 12 crore farmers, comma, only 1.79 crore farmers, only 1.79 crore farmers sell agriculture produce on ENAM, sell agriculture produce on ENAM due to, number one, lack of awareness, second, dependence on traders, for credit, dependence on traders for credit, and longer distances between villages and mandis. Longer distances between villages and mandis. Third, reluctance of states in joining ENAM, due to the fear of revenue loss. Why will states lose out on revenue? Instead of multiple point levy, there is a single point levy. That's first reason. Second reason, GST has been opposed by manufacturing states. The reason why it is opposed by manufacturing states is GST is a destination based tax. Where the goods and services are actually consumed, that particular state will get a share of GST. Can I say the same thing with respect to mandi tax also? Mandi tax is also destination tax. Ultimately, where a commodity is sold, that particular state will get the share of mandi tax. Example being, let's say there is a agricultural commodity which is sold in Tamil Nadu right now. It can be sold only in Tamil Nadu. If it is sold in Tamil Nadu, it is the Tamil Nadu government which will get a share of this mandi tax. But if Tamil Nadu government gives freedom to its farmer to sell their agriculture produce outside Tamil Nadu in Karnataka, this agriculture produce will be sold in Karnataka. So who will get the share of that mandi tax? Karnataka. Whose loss it will be? Tamil Nadu's. So there is a fear of revenue loss. So what some states have done, जो small mandis होते हैं, that mandis they have got integrated into ENAM. But larger mandis, they have deliberately kept it with themselves so that they are able to have the same kind of revenue. Next. Opposition by middlemen and traders. Opposition by middlemen and the traders, as they would lose monopoly. Opposition by middlemen and traders, as they would lose monopoly in purchase of agriculture produce within a mandi. So until now, what used to happen is, I am a farmer in a particular state of, let's say, Maharashtra, and this is Delhi's trader. I, as a farmer, I cannot sell it directly to a trader in Delhi. So I will first sell it to a trader in the same state of Maharashtra. I will probably sell this crop to this trader at 15. This trader will sell the same crop to another trader at rupees 17. So this person is simply acting like a middleman. So he will earn a profit of rupees 2. Under ENAM, we are enabling this farmer to sell his produce directly to a trader in Delhi. What will happen to this trader's role? Outdated, redundant. His scope to earn profit is no longer there. Getting it? So that is why the traders are opposing the ENAM. Last one. Challenge me. Okay, which is actually the most important. Last one under the challenge. Share of interstate trade. Share of interstate trade on ENAM. Share of interstate trade on ENAM is below 1%. Is below 1%. Full stop. Put hyphen and write. Majority of the trades on ENAM. Majority of the trades on ENAM. Okay, pay attention. When I was discussing you the flow of ENAM, I told you 3 types of trades can take place on ENAM. One is intra-mandi, second one is intra-state, and third one is interstate. Among these 3, majority of the trades on ENAM are intra-mandi trade. It means who are the traders who are placing bid? Mostly the traders belong to the same mandi. So mostly, like it is being said, 90% of trade on ENAM is intra-mandi trade. What was ENAM set up for? ENAM was set up in order to create one nation, one market. It was supposed to be all India platform, but most of the trade are intra-mandi. What do you think is the reason for this? क्या reason है? Why are traders from other mandis not procuring it? One is obviously high logistic cost. Very good. Second, trust factor you're saying? Okay, ठीक है. Then something else which is very important, which we have covered in the challenges related to marketing. No, not GST. Something else that we covered under challenges of agriculture marketing as to why we don't have one nation, one market. Remember, we covered fragmented market. Just check your notes. Fragmented market. I told you why is market in India fragmented? Why we don't have one nation, one market? When we were discussing challenges of agriculture marketing. Huh? Good. States do not recognize the trading license issued by other states. Remember, we covered this. If ENAM has to become a truly one nation, one market, one state should recognize the trading license issued by other state. Which state has done it? Gujarat has already done it. But very few states have given recognition to trading license issued by other states. When I was discussing the criteria for joining ENAM, I told you one criteria is the state should adopt one state, one trading license, which is good. But the problem is we have not put a requirement that you should also recognize the trading license issued by other state. That is the biggest flaw. Clear with that? Okay, right? Most of the trade on ENAM, one second. Majority of the trade on ENAM, majority of the trades on ENAM is dominated by intra-mandi trade. Intra-mandi trade. The share of interstate trade, the share of interstate trade, the share of interstate trade is quite low due to number one, non-recognition of trading license. due to non-recognition of trading license issued by other states. And second one is higher logistic cost. Higher logistic cost. हाँ, अभी तक कभी आया नहीं है न्यूज में, तो higher logistic cost. Clear? Okay, last, let's end with the strategies. Quickly write strategies. Okay, with respect to strategies, first one. Okay, let's start with this. How do you increase the penetration of mandis? क्या करना चाहिए? Improve the agricultural infrastructure in the mandis. For that, do we have any scheme to improve the infrastructure in mandis? कोई scheme है इंडिया का? Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. There's a scheme called as Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, under which we are giving a grant of 75 lakh rupees to every APMC mandi to upgrade its infrastructure. So what we have to do is we have to increase the coverage of this particular scheme so that we are giving more support to different mandis. So right, number one, improve the infrastructure in the mandis. Improve the infrastructure in the mandis through Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Through Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Full stop. Further, coverage of ENAM should be expanded. Further, coverage of ENAM should be expanded to include Grameen Haats. याद है? Grameen Haats. Which committee said this? Dalwai panel, right? To include Grameen Haats. To include Grameen Haats and private mandis. Okay. अभी data नहीं है. I could not get the data. We could know only the number of mandis. But how much is the APMC mandi, how much is the private mandi, this data is not there. Okay. How do you increase the coverage of the farmers? क्या करना चाहिए? Awareness तो बढ़ाना चाहिए. Then, okay, here I'll just tell you what has happened. In Rajasthan, it's a very interesting. In Rajasthan, they have a separate scheme called as Krishak Uphar Yojana. Let's understand. I'll dictate these points. Let's understand what is this scheme all about. In Rajasthan, every farmer who sells their agriculture produce on ENAM, all those farmers will be getting a lottery ticket. Once they get a lottery ticket at a particular frequency, which might be like every 2 months, 3 months, there's a lucky draw. Whoever gets that lucky draw, they'll get a cash benefit. So this is one way to encourage the farmers to sell their produce on the ENAM. Obviously, awareness is important. उसके साथ साथ we can have similar scheme at a national level as well. Okay, so right, encourage the coverage of farmers. Encourage the coverage of farmers under the ENAM. Encourage the coverage of the farmers under the ENAM on the lines of Rajasthan's. On the lines of Rajasthan's Krishak Upahar Yojana. Krishak Upahar Yojana. In the bracket, lottery scheme for the farmers. Lottery scheme for the farmers selling their produce on ENAM. Okay, next. Okay. How do you encourage states? Okay, right? Encourage the states. Encourage the states to join ENAM by providing conditional grants on the lines of power sector reforms. On the lines of power sector reforms. On the lines of power sector reforms. Okay. What we have done is we are giving some grants to the states. But to avail the grants, we have imposed a condition on the states that you have to bring about reforms in the discoms. You must have heard that discoms are making huge losses. So we have said, if you improve the financial position of discoms, we'll give you grants. But these grants are conditional. Similar to what we are doing under power sector reforms, we can do the same thing with respect to ENAM as well. Next one. Increase the share of interstate trade. Increase the share of interstate trade on ENAM by encouraging the states to recognize trading license issued by other states on the lines of Gujarat model. Okay, last one. Set up apex regulator. Set up apex regulator for regulating the trades carried out on the ENAM. For regulating the trades carried out on the ENAM. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, presently, if at all any dispute arises between a farmer and a trader with respect to trade which is carried out on ENAM, the farmer should approach a civil court. And the problem, we know, civil courts is already overburdened. So we need to have a separate dedicated regulator for regulating the trade carried out on the ENAM to inspire more confidence. So this is all about the ENAM. कोई doubt है यहाँ पे? Okay. I'm just going to show you one question. I just want the answer structure for this question. In 8 years of its existence, ENAM has begun making visible inroads, but still there is a long way to go. In the light of this statement, discuss the challenges and issues in ENAM. It's 8 years, not 5, 8 years. हो गया आपका? You're there in last class? What happened? अच्छा. There's one dimension which I missed out. Just try to find out which dimension. Read the question carefully. You'll get to know. What you mentioned is right, but one dimension has to be added. This is what I wanted. Good. Good. There's one dimension which you have missed. Yeah, good. आपका? One dimension which you have missed. It is mentioned in the question. One dimension you have missed. Good. One dimension you also missed. I don't know why everyone is missing out one dimension. Yeah, good. यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? In the 8 years of its existence, good, Enam has begun making visible inroads. Don't you think this is asked? It says it has started making visible inroad, means there are some achievements of Enam. You have to write about the achievements. So the question has basically two parts. It says, but still there is a long way to go. Discuss the challenges and issues. So you have to focus on the challenges of Enam. But before writing challenges, you should also briefly touch upon the achievements of Enam. But you should write that part. You can do that. Good. I'll just show you suggested answer structure. Something like this. Enam has integrated 1,522 mandis. However, the share of interstate trade is below 1%, and thus raising questions over Enam in promoting one nation, one market. So after that, in the first part, visible inroads, achievements. And what you should always do when writing answer, instead of using this word, recent achievements in Enam, a much better word would be the keyword which you pick up from the question itself. What is that keyword from the question? Visible inroad. Visible inroad in last 8 years. And then write those 3 achievements. Number 1 is FPO based trading module. Second one is warehousing based trading module. And third one is Uberization of logistics. And the fourth one, platform of platforms. After you write visible inroad, then you shift your focus to challenges. And then this is how you can write the strategies and future implications. We covered Rajasthan's Krishik Upar Yojana, or expansion of Enam to include more private mandis and Gramin Hats, leveraging agriculture infrastructure fund to improve APNC infrastructure. लिख सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. You can always see, I keep as saying, right, in the introduction write the present status, but यहाँ पे because this is statement in the question, यहाँ पे एक statement है ना question में, you should always elaborate that statement. That is why I have done this elaboration part. So on one side I'm saying that it has made visible inroad. In the second question, in the second statement I've highlighted that there are some concerns. So we'll take a break. We'll start at 6:05. Okay. Thank you so much.